everybody. We have huge news this morning as the drama is finally over. It finally happened. Jack Eichel has been traded by the Buffalo Sabres to the Vegas Golden Knights with multiple pieces going back to Buffalo in return. We're going to break it all down, look at it here, and examine this trade from both sides. But before we begin, I just ask you please subscribe and hit that thumbs up. It helps the channel so much and is greatly appreciated. But let's get into it here. Looking at this trade as going to Vegas. Obviously, center Jack Eichel, who is the main character of this trade and the thing that this is all built around, along with a 2023 third-round pick. And then going back the other way to the Buffalo Sabres, we have forward Alex Tuch. We have forward Peyton Krebs. We have a 2022 first-round pick in this coming draft and a 2023 third-round pick in the draft after this coming one. So when you look at it here, it certainly is not the giant haul that Buffalo was hoping to get with, multiple first-round picks and A-list prospects and all of that. But they get a pretty good player in Alex Tuch, a very young player with still a lot of potential in Peyton Krebs, a first-round pick and a third-round pick. So they do, get at least a decent amount back in return, but definitely not the haul that Buffalo was originally hoping to get with Jack Eichel. And then on Vegas' side, obviously they get Jack Eichel. Now for them, they need to hope that this is the old Jack Eichel. He's had a lot of injury issues with this neck problem. He is going to be getting the disc surgery, which is obviously very, very good for him. And he could be back after the Olympic break, which obviously would be great for Vegas, hopefully gearing up for a playoff run. They can just insert Jack Eichel late in the season into their lineup. Overall, Alex Tuch, solid player. Krebs, a lot of potential, still very young. Eichel, obviously a little bit of a question with the injury, but this wasn't exactly what it could have been if this trade, I think, had been done earlier, or if Eichel was healthy. I think this could have been a little bit more of a massive scope of the trade, but there's just the passage of time, the injury to Eichel, the kind of things hampered this down a little bit. But still, if you're the Buffalo Sabres, let's look at this from Buffalo, their perspective. You've got Jack Eichel, who is unhappy. You've stripped of the captaincy. Doesn't really look like he wants to be in Buffalo. No, not that it doesn't look like it. We know he doesn't want to be in Buffalo anymore. Great player when he's healthy. One of the best in the league, but he hasn't really been healthy. And, you're looking to move on at this point. You're trying to move on. Now, the original reports of what Buffalo was looking for was, multiple first-round picks, A-list prospects. Obviously, they didn't get that. But they get Alex Tuch, who's a very, very solid player, 25 years old, big body, 6'4", 217, winger that can also kind of play center if you need him to, but much more of a winger. He has 139 career points in 255 games played. His career high in points came with Vegas back in 2018-19 with 52 in 74 games. He had 33 points in 55 games last season, including 18 goals. He's a solid middle six winger. He's a really solid middle six winger. He can play on the second line. Now, on Buffalo, he might end up being a first liner, but on most teams, he's second or third line, and he's a pretty good second or third line winger there. And obviously 25 years old, still a long career ahead of him. Peyton Krebs. Peyton Krebs has maybe a little bit more of a higher ceiling. He is 20 years old still. He was a 17th overall pick back in 2019 by the Golden Knights. Now, he has struggled this season. He's played 9 games with Vegas this season, does not have a point, and was -6. And he's really been struggling with the Golden Knights this year. But a change of scenery might be good for Peyton Krebs. And he's a guy, again, only 20 years old, has a lot of upside potential that could be untapped here, and he's still growing into and developing. He's only played 13 career NHL games in the regular season. Obviously, still very, very young. And we're gonna, the jury's still out. We're gonna have to wait and see what Peyton Krebs becomes for the Buffalo Sabres before we can kind of fully gauge who got what in this trade. But obviously, still a lot of potential there with just a 20-year-old former first-round pick. Then they get the first-round pick in this year's draft, which, Vegas is expected to be a solid team. So, definitely not looking at, likely a very high first-round pick, but still a first-round pick, a good player that you're going to get there if you draft correctly. And then a third-round pick that they basically swapped 2023 third-round picks. So that's the return for Buffalo, and that's what they had to take at this point. They dragged this out. They waited and waited and waited. The question marks continued, to rise with Eichel and what's his condition, what's it going to be after he has this disc surgery, which it sounds like he is pretty much immediately going to get now that he's with Vegas, and that they are hoping that they can get him back before the end of the regular season. Then on the Golden Knights side of things, you get Jack Eichel. Now, what Jack Eichel is going to be, we'll have to see after this surgery. But obviously, when he is peak Jack Eichel, and hopefully he can get back to being elite peak Jack Eichel, you're getting a guy who's easily a point-per-game player. 25 years old, and it's odd to say that. It seems like he should be young. It seems like he should be younger still. We talk about him as such a great young player, but he's 25 now. He's been in the league for a while. I can't believe he's been in the league for so many years already. Yeah, this would be, if he was playing this year, it's year 7 for Eichel. But he had 18 points in 21 games before getting injured last year. His career high in points was 82 in 77 games back in 2018-19. And, he's a guy that can certainly reach that 90-point mark with his skill level and his ability. I think he could potentially become a 100-point player. He hasn't done that yet, but he's also been in Buffalo for his entire career. And he's still, a young guy who's kind of, just coming into those prime NHL years, or what should be those prime NHL years. Again, the big question mark here with Eichel is that, we don't know what his condition is going to be after this surgery. But if he gets back to being peak Jack Eichel, and he is heading into the prime of his career, then he could be a 100-point player for the Vegas Golden Knights. Especially, he especially has more talent around him and is on a better team in Vegas than he ever was in Buffalo. So, all in all, I think, this is worth it for the Vegas Golden Knights. The potential that you get with what Jack Eichel could be for you is worth it for the Vegas Golden Knights, because they didn't have to give up that huge haul that, the original reports back over the summer were saying that Buffalo was holding out for. They didn't end up giving up that haul. They give up a solid middle six winger. They give up a young prospect who's been struggling so far this season, but still has a lot of upside potential in Peyton Krebs. And then they give up a first and a third. And, I think that's well worth it if you're the Vegas Golden Knights, for at least the potential of what Jack Eichel could be for you. And then you also, swap the third-round picks with Buffalo. And then for the Buffalo side of things, well, the drama is over. Eichel is gone. They get him out of there. Now, you don't get exactly what you were hoping for in return as far as this massive haul going back the other way, but you at least get a couple of players who can help your team in Tuch and Krebs, and then you get a first and a third round pick. Again, the third kind of just swapped, but you get a first round pick as well. And if you make, a good pick with that first, then, this could end up being solid as well. At the end of the day, it seems like a better deal for Vegas, but Buffalo just needed to get Eichel moved. They needed to get Eichel moved, and he didn't want to be there anymore. He wasn't getting the surgery with them, so this is, I think, just better for everybody, just to get this drama over with, to get him moved. Buffalo didn't get that huge haul in return, but it is what it is. And for Vegas, they get a potential number 1 superstar center if he can get back to being the Jack Eichel we've been accustomed to when he's healthy. And that's well worth the risk compared to what they gave up, in my opinion, for the Golden Knights. So, and for Jack Eichel, I think this is a massive win as well. He gets out of Buffalo, a team that hasn't made the playoffs in a decade. He goes to a perennial contending team in the Vegas Golden Knights. He has a chance now to get the disc surgery that he needs, and hopefully can come back at 100% healthy by the end of the season and start, playing for Vegas and putting up good production and being the Jack Eichel that we expect to see in a Vegas Golden Knights uniform. And it gets him out of Buffalo, where he didn't want to be, wasn't getting the surgery, had all these issues. It's just a win for Jack Eichel as well as the player. So that's where we're at right now. That's the move. That's what we've seen. Eichel to Vegas, I think that's a win for him. I think it's a good, well worth the risk move for the Vegas Golden Knights. For Buffalo, I mean, there's kind of the pluses of getting this over with and getting this done. But at the same time, they didn't exactly get a huge return for a player that has the potential that Jack Eichel does of being one of the best in the entire NHL. But on the other hand, they just get this whole kind of drama done with, and I think that could be a good thing for the Buffalo Sabres. But at the same time, you're kind of looking at that return and saying, wow, they probably could have gotten more if they had done this sooner, or maybe not. Maybe the deal wasn't out there, and this is the best that they could get. Who knows? Only the GMs of these teams know what the best deal truly was, but it wasn't exactly the big haul that Sabres fans were hoping for when this was first talked about, him being traded last year and throughout the offseason. But anyway, that's the Jack Eichel trade, guys. That's what I've got for you, and we'll see how it all works out in the end. But like, comment, share, subscribe, follow on social media. All those links are down in the description. If you'd like to further support the channel, the links to our Patreon, merchandise store, donation link, and channel memberships are in the description as well. Keep spreading the word about this channel. Let's keep this thing growing. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. I'll talk to you guys soon.